Hey, welcome back to JB Breaks Free. I hope you're having a great day, a blessed day, and getting 1% better than yesterday and breaking free from whatever's holding you back. This morning, I went out to a garage sale and I found a good stack of records for $4. I did a little YouTube short about it, and I think I got some good profit in there. I went through casually and just added up about $100, so that's not bad, and that is going to tie into this chapter, actually. The topic for today, Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover, Chapter 7, The Debt Snowball, Lose Weight Fast, Really. And he compares it to weight and money. And, take what you want from this. It's not all, set in stone, but I think there's a lot of good points in here. Before I get into that, I tried to make $17 in Instacart today to get to $300 for the week, but I just kind of relaxed a little bit. I hit my mark, spent some time with the family, watched a couple minutes of college football, and, just kind of chilling before waiting tables tonight. And speaking of waiting tables, I just found out that we are going to be now closed on just this upcoming Tuesday. So that's going to be 2 days off next week. We're closed on Wednesdays, which looks like permanent, and we are closed on this coming Tuesday because one chef is going on vacation. Another chef is a bit older and he's getting burned out, and my boss is a bit older, and he's not chasing it as hard as he used to, and, that affects me. And that is something that I can deal with at this point. And really the only reason I can deal with it is because of books like these. This is not the only book, but this is one of the books I read on my journey, and I'm going back through it, and I'm going to talk about some of the highlights right now. And you never know what can happen. You never know. So it's good to be debt-free, and if you're not, then I hope you're working towards breaking free from your debt. I would highly recommend it. So I'll just go through some of the passages real quick, talk about how it relates to my life. And I'll start here. He goes, I believe with everything within me that your most powerful wealth-building tool is your income. He goes, ideas, strategies, goals, vision, focus, and even creative thinking are vastly important, but until you get control and full use of your income to build wealth, you will not build and keep wealth. Because to build wealth, you have to regain control of your income. That is something I have done. We did not have control of our income. Our income was in control of the lenders, and our income was controlled by consumerism and debt, and we were far from control. Now that we do have control, we are starting to build some wealth. Goes, identify the enemy. The bottom line is that it's easy to become wealthy if you don't have any payments. He goes, if you didn't have a car payment, a student loan, credit cards out your ears, medical debt, or even a mortgage, you could become wealthy very quickly. We have eliminated all of those debts. Because roughly all these payments on average add up to $1,995 per month. If this family were to invest that instead of sending it to creditors, they would be cash mutual fund millionaires in just 15 years. After 15 years, it gets really exciting. They'll have $2 million in 5 more years, $3 million in 3 years, $4 million in 2.5 years, and $5.5 million in 2.5 more years. So they will have $5.5 million after 28 years if you were to eliminate all your debts and take that money that you would be paying to creditors, but instead paid yourself. Pretty motivating right there. And that's just if you have the average income. If you make a little more, you're going to get there a little quicker. Let's see. He goes, all you would have to pay is utilities, food, clothes, insurance, and some other miscellaneous expenses. He says, I have a foolproof plan to accomplish this, to accomplish getting rid of your debt. He goes, it's foolproof, but it's very difficult. Most people don't do it because they are average, but not you and not on this channel. We break free from average and we break free from debt. If you're sick and tired and you are willing to pay the price for greatness, this is the toughest of all baby steps to your total money makeover. He goes, it's going to take your focused intensity has to go off the scale. I like to think that I was, and my wife's intensity was just about off the scale, and I feel like I still have that intensity. I'm still doing the same things, but now I get to keep that money, which is very interesting. All the money I used to make from flipping would go to debt, and all the money I used to make from Instacart would go to debt. And now it goes to us, and it allows us to have certainly more freedom, which is great. If you really believe that wealth building will no longer be a dream, but a reality, if you have no payments, you should be willing to do bizarre and sacrificial things to have no payments. It's time to pay off debt. Talks about, okay, baby step 2, the debt snowball. Goes, I always used to start with making the math work. I have learned that the math does need to work, but sometimes motivation is more important than math, and this is one of those times. The debt snowball is not the most math-efficient way, but it's the most psychologically efficient way to pay off your debts. So he goes, list all your debts, except for your home. We'll get to that in another step. He goes, list all your debts, even loans from mom and dad or medical bills that have 0 interest. I don't care if there is interest or not. I don't care if you have 24% interest and others 4%. List the debts from smallest to largest. You got to focus that thing. Not in highest interest rate first, smallest to largest. If you were so fabulous with math, you wouldn't have debt. So try this my way. I kind of like that thing. Okay, yeah, I'm smarter than you, right? I'm going to pay off the highest interest. But if you weren't, you're obviously not that great with math if you're buried in. So I like that quote. Because the reason we list smallest to largest is to have some quick wins. And I do think that's highly motivational, and it was for us. And this one guy says, we realized that we were one accident or job loss away from losing all we had, so we wanted to get out of debt. And that's something that drives me. I know that I'm in a pretty good situation, and if that situation were to be taken away, I know I would have to fight. And it makes the fight a lot easier being debt-free. One lady took her debt snowball to the local copy shop and had it enlarged to supersize. She then put her huge debt snowball on the refrigerator. Every time she paid off another debt, she drew a big red line through that debt. Now gone forever. She said every time she would go into the kitchen and say, oh yeah, we're getting rid of that debt. You can see the wins. You're getting motivated. You're keeping motivated. After you list all the debts, smallest to largest, pay the minimum payment to stay current on all other debts except the smallest. Every dollar you can find from anywhere in your budget goes towards the smallest debt until it is paid. Once the smallest debt is paid, the payment from that debt plus any extra found money is added to the next smallest debt. Trust me, you will find more money when you get going. And then debt number 2 is paid off. You take all the money from that used to pay number 1 and number 2, and you pay it, plus any found money on number 3. And number 3 is paid, attack 4, and so on. You keep paying minimums on all other debts except the smallest until it is paid. Every time you pay off one, the amount you pay on the next one down increases. All the money from old debts and all the money you can find from anywhere else goes on the smallest until it is gone. Attack. Attack with everything you have, and that's what we did. I can just remember freezing my butt off doing Instacart shops with that wind whipping in my hands so cold on the steering wheel, or sweating on the super hot 90-degree days and selling everything that I didn't need and that I finally realized did not make me happy anymore. Doing whatever it would take. Attack, attack, attack. And every time the snowball rolls over, it picks up more snow and it gets larger and your debts keep disappearing. And by the time you get to the bottom, you have an avalanche. Talks about the elements of making it work. The major elements of making the debt snowball work are using a budget, getting current before you start, smallest to largest payments, no cheating, sacrifice, and focused intensity. And focus intensity is what I had. This means you say to yourself and mean it, to the exclusion of virtually everything else, I'm getting out of debt. If you think this debt snowball stuff is cute and you might sort of give it a try, it won't work. It takes total, sold out, focus intensity. The only way it will work. He talks about one of his famous quotes with gazelle intensity, about how the gazelle runs from the cheetah and the cheetah being debt. And even though the cheetah is faster than the gazelle outmaneuvers it. I think he said 1 out of every 20 times the cheetah wins. But he goes, with everything you got to go as fast as you can. Run for your life away from that debt. By the way, this is my bookmark. Love you, Dad. Yeah, it was there. It just helps me read. It helps me just be focused as I go down the page. It was an obvious step to working on Debt Snowball is to stop borrowing, of course. Otherwise, you will just be changing the names of the creditors on your debt list. He goes, how to get the snowball rolling? He goes, sometimes your debt snowball won't roll. When some people do their budget, there's barely enough to make all the minimum payments and nothing extra to pay to the smallest. This is definitely a real thing here. He goes, you have to get radical to get the money flowing. One way to do that is to sell something. And as we know on this channel, everything is for sale. And not only is everything for sale here, I will go find things that other people don't want and sell them also. And that's kind of fun. It's the thrill of the hunt, and it keeps you busy. Because you could sell lots of little stuff at a garage sale, and we had plenty of those. Sell a random used item on the internet. Sell precious items through classified. Get gazelle intense and sell as much stuff that the kids are afraid they are next. And my kids definitely know that this is a reselling household. Sell things that make your broke friends question your sanity. If your budget is stopped up and your debt snowball won't roll on its own, you're going to have to get radical. Because there's people that have sold goldfish from her pond from $1 a piece. People have sold their motorcycles, their boats, their knife collections, their baseball cards. You know, he says keep the heirlooms because you won't get them back. He talks about selling a car, boats. He goes, it's just a car, it's just a boat, but you got to dynamite that log jam of finding some extra money to put on the minimum payments, and later you can get that stuff back. Because if your budget is too tight to get the debt snowball rolling, you will need to do something to increase the income. Selling debt-ridden items lowers the outgo, and selling other items temporarily increases your income, of course. Likewise, working extra hours can increase your income. I don't like the idea of working 100 hours per week, he says, but sometimes extreme situations require extreme solutions. Temporarily, of course, just till you get going. He goes, there's a young single guy who works on my team. His gazelle intense about becoming debt-free. He works here until 5:30 every day. He smiles and then leaves to go work for UPS for another 4 or 5 hours. They work unbelievable hours and extra hours, so why would they smile? The smile is because they have caught the vision of living like no one else, so later they can live like no one else. And I've certainly caught that vision, and I have 2 jobs also, not to mention my other side hustles. He goes, Dave Rant, this is about keeping separate checking accounts if you're married. I kind of did an episode about this earlier. For us, we had separate checking accounts, and that did not work for us. We had debt that I didn't even know about, and I do take responsibility for that because I might have had my head in the sand. For us, it worked out that we put our stuff together. I still have a separate checking account where I can have a little bit of play money and this and that. But when we make purchases, there are purchases. We make them together. If someone gets a coffee, that's fine. If someone buys this, that's fine. There's no need for one of us to pay for dinner. That's our money. And for us, it works. And I know some of you have commented on previous where you guys kind of have your own system. If you have your own system that works, that's great. But if you don't, consider putting your finances together and at least sitting down and talking to your partner and making sure everything's out into the open and working together as a team. Dave says, here's the deal. When you get married, you become a team. It's called unity. It's hard to have unity when you have separate bank accounts where his money is over here and her money is over there. It's easy to live in your own little financial world instead of working as a team, because your job is to love each other well. That includes having shared financial goals, which is hard to do when you have separate accounts. What about saving for retirement when the snowball is rolling? Dave says to put it off. He goes, I'm a math nerd, and he goes, I know even with the employer's match is sweet, but he goes, if you're radically gazelle intense, the speed of your debt freedom will enable you to return to that 401k with the match in just a matter of months. Imagine how much you'll be able to contribute to your retirement when you have 0 payments, and we are maxing out ours, and in fact, it just went up, the 403b. He goes, what happens when you have to go back to baby step 1 and dip into your emergency fund? He says, if you use the emergency fund to return to baby step 1 until you have refunded your beginner emergency fund, so he says, if you dip into the emergency fund, refund it, get back up to that 1,000, and then start attacking your debt snowball again. He goes, the only other large debts to delay are the mortgages, and we'll attack that in another baby step that he talks about. With gazelle intensity, great focus, extreme sacrifice, selling things, working extra, we clear all debt. Again, if you are fired up, normally this happens in 18 to 20 months. Some will get out sooner, some will get out slightly longer. That's okay. Free up most of your powerful wealth building tool, your income. And he says you also take on the American ideal of debt is normal. He goes, you make your stand on debt, and you make your stand on debt known when you are determined to pay it off. And that is all he wrote about Debt's Snowball in Chapter 7. I definitely will say that that's certainly worth looking into and has changed our life. Again, not everything you have to do in there, take what you need. We didn't do everything exactly in order, as he said, but we did pretty close, and it worked out okay. So I hope it works out for you guys. Let me know where you are on your path, if you're done, if you're just starting, if you're in the middle, the quarter. I'd love to hear from you. Like, share, subscribe, and break free.